And I'm gonna pull the carburetor off this and probably the gas tank, clean out the carburetor. So first thing I did was pull the air filter off, then I gotta remove these two screws here. Alright, the exhaust just came off with a 7/16 ratchet. Just put it on there. And this bolt right here, it's a 3/8. See? The next thing I gotta pull off is this right here. It's a 5/16. And I'm gonna remove this swivel arm here so I can disconnect all this linkage like that, and then the one down here. This bolt, it's loose. I can turn it. It's loose. I pulled the bottom one out. I kept that one in there just to hold it till I get the bottom one out. This bottom one down here, it's a 7/8, but I gotta undo him. So the first thing is to undo these wires here, this cable connection stuff. Alright, to remove this linkage here, I undid the bolt right there. And you see this top hook, I'm going to tilt it this way like this and pull that top hook out first, and then once the top hook comes out, the side one down here will come out. You can see right here I got this top spring disconnected. Now there's actually a real thin wire on it. Camera might not be able to pick it up, but there's a thin little wire on the end of it right here, kind of like a hook. Right there. And you gotta unhook that little wire right there. And the side piece is still connected. To remove this little spring right back here, I just use some needle nose pliers to grab it and pull it off. So that lower bolt's removed. Only this top bolt's holding it in right here. Okay, after rebuilding this carburetor, I noticed a few things. There was some white stuff built up in this tube. It's basically ethanol. So, you know how you look on the internet and you'll see all these carburetors for sale everywhere on Amazon, eBay, and everywhere? It's because ethanol is destroying the carburetors. So if you ever have to replace your carburetor, you are better off getting a brand new one, because if ethanol is the case, if that's what's destroyed the carburetor, then like I said, you're better off just replacing it with a brand new one. I'm going to show y'all what happens. Like, ethanol will build up and clump up inside this tube. Also inside here, when you pull this jet out, which kind of hard for me to do on camera, but there's those two little holes in there. All that, this whole area gets clogged inside here from ethanol. Then on the back side, see that white crusty stuff right there? That's ethanol. All that white looking buildup, that's ethanol. Okay. And carburetor cleaner doesn't take it off. Carburetor cleaner, I already sprayed this with carburetor cleaner, brake cleaner, and everything. Look at all that black buildup on the inside that the carburetor cleaner didn't remove. Yeah, the only thing the carburetor cleaner really did was strip the paint off this. But I used engine cleaner, brake cleaner, carburetor cleaner. But yeah, you see that white crusty stuff? That's the ethanol. That's why you want to replace your carburetors, because cleaning that crap out of here is hard. And it'll also build up inside here. See those two little holes? Ethanol will clog those two little holes inside that tubing. See that one on the right, how it's real tiny? Then the gas goes up this, and it goes into here. And I can't show it on camera, but inside this tubing on the bottom, there's a hole that connects to this. So the gas goes up here, and then it goes into this. And then you have your jets, and it flows through the jet. And if you look in there, there's these two little bitty holes. You see the one on the right, how tiny it is, and then the one on the left right there. So you want to spray carb cleaner in here and make sure those two holes are cleaned out. That hole on the right is the smallest hole on the fuel system. So if anything's going to get clogged, it's going to be that small hole on the right. So spray carb cleaner in here, and when you do, tilt the carburetor to the side to get all the fluid to flow into just one of those holes instead of both of them. That way you can check to see if both holes are clear. But like that tiny little hole right there, just spray carb cleaner in there and then tilt it downwards so that all the fluid flows into that little bitty hole and drains through it. And if it drains through it, then you know it's cleaned out. Another thing you can do is shine a flashlight in through this end right here if you're in a dark room, and it'll make these holes light up. I also made my own gasket here. Now, in order to make the holes right here for the screws, I just used a hole punch. I used one of those hole punches that you use to punch holes in leather belts. This is the gasket I use. It says that it's made for timing coders, fuel pump mount differentials. And I just bought this at O'Reilly's. It might be their O'Reilly brand gasket. There's the part number, 3157. But it's this gasket paper. It's like a whole roll of it. And it's the same type of gasket that you use to mount the carburetor to the fuel tank. And it comes with a lot of it. I only paid $10 for this whole roll. And then I could probably make 30 or 40 of these gaskets out of it. Okay, I finished cleaning the tank. There's the bowl. The bowl's all cleaned out. Okay, I got it all put together, and then this gasket that mounts the carburetor to the tank is leaking. See all this gas right up in here. There, it's showing up better there. So apparently I'm gonna have to put some type of sealant on this gasket. I'm gonna have to pull the carburetor back off. Alright, I cleaned off the surface of the tank with a rag and rubbing alcohol. This is my old gasket. I'm just gonna let it sit out and dry because it was soaked in gas, but it looks pretty dry now. So I think I'm fixing to put silicone on it, or whatever this stuff is. This Motoseal gasket maker. It's fuel resistant. So I'm gonna stick that down. Hopefully that'll keep it from leaking. What happened was I would fill up this neck of the gas all the way up to the top because it's a higher level up here, and then it would leak through here because gravity was pushing it out. Alright, I use this Motoseal. You can see how it's oozing out of the bottom of the gasket. You can see like a real fine bead of the stuff coming out. This stuff's real wet and thin. You just want to coat your gasket in it, like coat both sides of the gasket with a sealer. It's really not, it really doesn't work like silicone. I mean, this stuff's real runny. It's kind of like running like syrup. I had it on my finger and it would just run off of it. But yeah, just use it to coat both sides of the gasket and then stick the gasket on there, and it should squish it out evenly across it. So hopefully it doesn't leak. It says it takes 20 minutes to set up. So I imagine by the time I put this back on the go-kart here, it'll be dry and ready to go. But I'm gonna let it sit because it's got gas in the tank, and I don't want that gas sloshing around on that gasket sealer, so I'm just gonna leave it like that for maybe an hour. Okay, to test this Motoseal gasket maker, what I did was I filled up the gas tank all the way to the very top, put the lid on it, and I spilled a little bit. But what I need to do now is take the lid off and check the level of the gas and see if it's at the same level, see if the level of the gas went down. Because if it's still filled up all the way, then that means the gasket maker worked, because I filled it up hours ago. So if it's filled up to the top, then that means this gasket maker is working and it's not leaking. So that's pretty close. Yeah, I got the carburetor retuned. Had to tune the jet. Screwed it all the way in. Then I backed it out 1.5 turns. Put everything together. New air filter, new oil. Sounds good though. It's not dying or anything. Has a good idle. I just need to put a throttle cable on it.